Well, welcome to one of the first Inside the Vacuum podcast, where we'll be exploring issues that CTOs and founders face as they start to build up their startups, their scale-ups, their service companies. So Ivan is one of the founders and the CEO of Family Finances. Did I get that correctly?
Yeah, exactly.
Wonderful. So Ivan, can you tell me more about what is Family Finances and how you got started?
So we at Family Finances create design-driven mobile banking solutions with a special focus on younger customers. We are working for financial innovators, so financial institutions and also fintech startups. And we also have our own box solutions so that we are kind of a hybrid between a startup and an agency working for the financial services segment. And we actually started out at a fintech competition, which was organized by MKB Bank. There we had a idea of actually increasing the financial consciousness and literacy of youngsters. And we definitely thought that it's a really underserved market, since myself and also another co-founder of Family Finances were working as colleagues at a global management consulting firm as fintech analysts. And there we kind of recognized that there's a particular need for youth banking solutions. So that's where we all started Family Finances.
So are you a startup or are you a service company?
So actually, we've been really struggling between firstly B2B and B2C. Then we decided to move on in a B2B business model, since we thought that this way we can have a larger social impact. And also we started out in the CE region, where the B2C model is or couldn't really be so sustainable like a B2B model can. And also during the long sales cycles, where we've been really challenged by also some cultural barriers while working for banks, we decided to also work for these financial institutions in a kind of service-oriented manner, just to make sure that we can early on gain great traction, work for as many banks as possible, learn as much as possible, and also see whether the chemistry is right, whether we can work together, whether we can collaborate. And once we saw that we can actually work together and also create value, then we forged more long-term relationships. And this way we were able to also actually sell parts of our box solutions. So far, this particular business model, being a kind of agency and also being a startup, worked for us. But actually, that's also one of the main goals of 2020. We'd like to reduce our project-based business and focus more and more on our box solutions. And actually, last year was the one where we kind of shifted gears and were focusing on mostly the project-based approach of our startup. But yeah, as I said, our main goal is to become a product-first startup with the knowledge we've gained during redesigning mobile banking applications in the CE region, for example.
Interesting. So basically you chose initially to go serve clients who needed your help, design some things for them, and you noticed that there were some sort of patterns that you were seeing on and on again, and you decided to convert them into products. Is that a good understanding of what you did?
Yeah, it is, definitely. So we've been conducting research also with our own research panel. Also, by working for banks, you also get lots of great research materials. And we saw also, as you mentioned, great patterns. What sorts of solutions should be actually built? For example, with Drops, one of our solutions, we saw that completely chat-based interfaces are sometimes more intuitive than, for example, a quite easy to understand flow of sending money to one another. And that's why we've built a completely chat-based solution. And also during the kind of gap months, we were able to focus on these box solutions. But of course, we'd like to, and we wanted to build these solutions in a more structured way. So actually, the last quarter of 2019 was definitely about finalizing Rocket Money, a youth banking solution, and also Flint, which is a mobile-first lending solution. And these are the two flagship products of family finances that we are right now in the middle of scaling up.
So you use the word product and solution.
Yeah.
What does the bank or what does the entity that works with you get as part of that solution?
So on the one hand, we have several box solutions, and right now we want to focus on two of them. These are really easy to white label and easy to customize solutions. So these are running on white label code. So we are really rapidly able to customize these solutions, customize the designs of these solutions, and we sell them in a white label form. Also, we build all of our solutions modularly, so we can put together different features and functions as puzzle pieces. So then we are also a kind of one-stop shop for banks. On the other side, we are a kind of service-oriented startup as well. So from UX research through UX UI design to implementation, we are able to cover the whole product development lifecycle, and we have a in-house engineering team and also an in-house UX UI design team to be able to provide these services.
So who's your ideal customer?
So actually an ideal customer for family finances would be a retail bank that is already open for design-driven solutions and is already open for solutions that are facing and targeting specifically either millennials, Gen Z customers, or different sorts of kind of tribes. And also where there's a massive room for improvement, where we can definitely help these banks to actually become millennial proof, millennial compliant. And so we need banks that already understand that a digital interface can be a unique selling point. And we can help them create and implement such design-driven solutions. We are happy to actually collaborate with different parties. So we've been working for several banks where we only provided UX UI design. Also, there were different use cases where we only provided mobile development. We have a quite UI heavy mobile development team. So that's kind of the specific approach of our engineering team. And that would be on the one hand from, for example, the financial institutions part. And also we like working for fintech startups as well. Of course, they do not have procurement processes, so decisions are more easily made. So that's another part where there's a fintech startup whom we can help actually deliver something that's really customer facing, design driven, without any limitations, and open for these cutting edge solutions.
So if you think back, how many years is it since you founded Family Finances?
Altogether 3 years, actually. We'll be a 3-year-old startup in May. Well, working on the idea itself, we've been working since October 2016.
So in those 3+ years, what is that one moment when you were just about to give up, but there was this one magical thing or something that happened that kept you going?
I think we had such moments like every 3 months. So we had lots of like quite difficult milestones. So firstly, we started out in a bank-backed accelerator program, and there we really believe that we'll be able to collaborate with that particular bank. But then there were kind of technical issues, and that's why we had to move on, and we had to apply for other accelerator programs. We had to work on our fundraising processes as well. Then we got into a telco-backed accelerator program where it also turned out that we won't be able to collaborate with that particular telco company. And then we had the opportunity to apply for another bank-backed accelerator still in Hungary, which was OTP Bank's accelerator program. And there we could already work for this bank with our team. And we were able to push forward our startup. And I would say all of these stages were worth going through. And then we were able to actually bring family finances to the next level. And we had also other challenges in 2018. We were maybe putting too much emphasis on working for really specific clients. And then in 2019, we opened up for also working for fintech startups and banks in a really flexible manner, not only focusing on our box solutions. So we survived during all of these difficult times. And right now we are building a quite sustainable startup. Right now we hope that we won't have any more like really difficult times like we had earlier.
That's exactly the times when the times get tough, when you don't think anything's coming up. But that's at least been my experience. But one thing that you keep coming back to is, you say, products and box solutions. So did you make a conscious decision to make multiple products that you have in your portfolio instead of just saying we have one that is modular?
So actually, we started out with family banking. That was initially family finances. And we started out as a one product startup. And then we saw that there's almost no need from the bank side for a family focused solution, because it's too niche, and banks are also struggling to meet all the regulations and requirements of the regulator. And there are lots of things going on that they have to improve, and free banking wasn't prioritized back then. So that's why we decided to broaden our scope to actually focus on youth banking, on youth-related things, targeting youngsters between 12 to actually 30, so both the millennial and the Gen Z segment. And then we created Drops, which was not a family banking solution, but a youth banking solution, and was actually backed by our research how you should design payments interfaces for youngsters and have them actually find the right flows and buttons, etc., with a chat-based interface. So that was youth banking. And then we decided that although we want to focus on the younger customers segment, or we want to become a kind of design-driven mobile banking vendor and startup at the same time. So that also broadened our scope. So that's why we've created other solutions. And right now with Rocket Money, that's our second youth banking solution, in which we channeled into all of our knowledge that we've gained so far. And Flint is another solution that we actually co-created with a great IT vendor in Hungary. So we were always really open for collaborations, and sometimes collaborations were the ones that helped us build newer and better products.
So I know banking is a very secretive sort of space, but can you tell us a bit more about some of the projects that you worked on? Maybe without mentioning names, but if you want to, it's fine.
Yeah, sure. We've been working for example, OTP Bank. We've provided them UX consultancy on youth banking projects. We are in a close collaboration with MKB Bank. That's one of the top banks also in Hungary. We are providing them UX UI design services. Been working on several of their projects since the beginning of 2019. We've also secured a proof of concept project with Intesa San Paolo, whom we've actually were working on customizing one of our box solutions. For example, in Hungary, we've been working for several fintech startups, providing either only UX UI design, for example, Broker Chooser. That's one of the top fintech startups in Hungary. Also mentioning Christo, which is a pay-as-you-drive smart Casco solution, and where we actually implemented the whole digital product end-to-end from UX research through UX UI design to mobile development. And then that project was also in collaboration with the Hungarian Generali. So these are kind of sample projects where you already see that one of the use cases is that we customize a box solution, or we provide a certain service, or we actually create the whole solution end-to-end And it can either be a bank working on a mobile banking solution, or it can be a fintech startup working on any kinds of fintech solution that is customer facing, design driven, and somehow is built with a special focus on youngsters.
Switching gears a bit, I know one of your co-founders is your brother, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How is it working in the same company with your brother? What are the challenges? What is the daily life like?
Actually, it's great. I get to meet him every day, although right now he's working quite a lot on site. But that's a great thing. We share the same values. Of course, we come from the same family, and we are quite efficient in terms of talking through different sorts of topics, even toughest ones. Of course, there are drawbacks. For example, during our family birthday party, we were talking more about working at family finances than about our like private life, and sometimes it's a bit too much, only talking about work and work and work. But overall, it's really great. And once you have great conflicts with your relatives whom you are working with, then you see that once you have to work with someone in a close collaboration who doesn't share the same values, then it's really the toughest thing that you can ever have. So I'm really lucky that he is head of design, my twin brother actually.
So you're actually twins.
We are actually triplets. We also have a twin sister who's actually doing UX research at the moment.
So when is she joining your team?
Yeah, we've already been working on some projects, but right now UX research is kind of a occasional part of family finances. She's actually a professional bass guitar player, so
wow.
we come actually from a musician family, so she rather decided to move on that path.
Do you still have that in you as well, that music, or is that more just your sister?
Actually, I wanted to become a jazz drummer until the age of 16. I was really confident that I'll become a drummer. And then lots of things happened. And then I became first an economist. And then, right now a startup.
Wow, surprising. What about your brother? Is he also musical, if you will?
Yeah, he plays the guitar. And then we all play the piano. So that was a kind of must-have from the age of 6.
Neither of you two are technical, right? So you're both sort of designers. You're more on the sales side. He's more on the design side, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So does music, because I hear sometimes programmers, they're sort of into music. They sort of have that sort of connection between the programming and the design in terms of code and music, because it just somehow melts together for them. Do you ever experience that with either you or your brother?
That's a good question. Also talking about working with my brother, that's also a great thing that we have the same taste in terms of design, and that's also quite important. And maybe that's also because of the fact that we share the same taste in terms of music as well. I don't know. I hope it actually contributes to that, but of course, like playing instruments definitely, like hopefully makes you more sophisticated. But yeah, I hope it definitely contributed.
Because it's actually now starting to make a bit of sense for me, at least. Because when you first, when we were first introduced by a friend or a mutual friend, I got your deck, and one of the first, and I see a lot of either fintech decks or apps that are intended for various financial services and that sort of thing, and yours just like was very, very different. Like there was a design approach to it, which was unlike most things I see. It was very fluid, if you will. I mean, I guess one of the names of the products is Drops, but like the way the design felt to me, just on a very personal level, it felt very like fluid, and in this context, it feels musical to me now because it's colorful. It has that fluidity to it, and I don't know. The listeners will have to judge because they'll look at your website and your information after this. But it's really, now it's sort of starting to make sense. That's there, and maybe that's just me seeing it there.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's really great to hear that. I appreciate that.
Yes, of course. So you two not being technical, how did you end up finding that technical co-founder?
We actually started working with our CTO early on, and then he became also co-founder of Family Finances. The good thing was that my brother was a kind of bridge between business and IT as a designer. And that's why we were able to tackle most of the issues, for example, that were really important issues for early investors, so that we have all the core competencies. But then we were able to find a really great guy whom we are working right now as co-founders, and also he shares the same values without compromise. He leads the engineering team to implement the same thing that's built and designed. That wasn't easy. And there we also, I believe, had a bit of a luck. Lots of startups are struggling with that problem.
So you guys build native apps, right? You don't use things like React or different tools to help you build across Android and iOS. You build native apps in both of these, right?
Actually, yes, we are, but we've been experimenting with Flutter. And maybe throughout this year or maybe next year, we'll build more and more applications with Flutter. But yeah, we are mostly focusing on building native applications.
Was that a conscious choice, or was it just your CTO? It's David, right? Remember correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly. David, was this David's decision, or was it just, we need to build native apps because the way we want these things to move and function, it just needs to be native?
We had bad experiences with cross-platform technologies. The result wasn't right. Maybe it's just bad experience, but due to the fact that we want to build applications without any compromises, so any custom component should be implemented that's actually designed by one of our UX UI designers. So that's why it made more sense to use native technologies. But maybe we'll see that Flutter is stable enough and has the opportunity for us to go with that.
So if you had to do this all over again with all the knowledge that you have today, what would you do differently?
Right now, we have lots of insights that we already know that we didn't think that these could be important. We've been also working with, for example, engineers and other team members who didn't share the same values or the same culture. And then we thought that with great expertise that can be overcome, but it can't because maybe it's due to the fact that my brother and myself were maybe a bit too focusing on the right culture. We were working with some other people as well in our engineering team, for example, who weren't sharing these kind of values. So that's one insight that I would give to myself. In the past, we were of course quite naive at the beginning that we will be able to work for large international banks early on with a team of 4. Of course, that was not an option to right away work for these big banks. And then in case we knew that it's going to be a really gradual thing, having proof of concepts, then the first references, etc., then we would have been, I would say, more conscious about choosing the right accelerator programs, right hackathons, the right partners to work with. Actually, what we think that it was worth following is that we were always talking to all the people whom we've met. So we weren't really cherry picking investors, banks, potential business development partners. So we were talking to everyone. And right now, we think that it kind of built up. And right now we have a network whom we can turn to and instantly deliver value with the help of these members of our network. So there are things that took a lot of time and effort, but were worth actually going through.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a cliche, but the journey is really part of the process, right? It's going through everything that teaches you what you should do better in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I actually had a really different mindset before family finance. So I wanted to become a management consultant. I participated in international management programs, etc. And then we had the opportunity, and then we never ever thought about actually launching a startup. And then all the values, everything are different in the startup culture. And then we had to learn everything on the job. So it was a great challenge, actually, not having the expertise and experience of a 15 plus years track record in the financial services industry. So we had to learn everything on the job, in accelerators, with our partners, etc. So that was tough, but it definitely was worth doing so.
So how big is the team now? You started off as 2 guys, you added on the tech visionary, and then how big are you now?
So actually, we started with a team of 3, and then we became a team of 4 with our current CTO, David. And then we became a team of 6 and 7, etc. Right now, we are a team of 12 with 6 engineers and 4 UX UI designers, and 2 people, including myself, are on the business side. So that's our current team.
So you're all sitting together in one office, or do you work remotely?
Yeah, actually, we prefer sitting in the same office all together and having a kind of community as well.
That's interesting, because I hear a lot of companies are now really into remote work, working from home, just having that sort of comfort. But you actually, part of that culture is built around working together. Is that right?
Yeah.
Fascinating. Well, Ivan, thank you very much for finding the time to talk to me. This has been an interesting conversation. I'm fascinated by the musical part of this business. It's something that maybe if you try asking around, maybe they'll tell you they see it as well. Maybe not. One last question for you. And this is also somewhat of a cliche question on podcasts that I listen to, but I really like it. So if you could put something on a billboard in your city, somewhere where you live, and you could just put one sort of sentence or quote or something that you would put on a billboard, what would you put up there?
That taking control over your finances is a lifetime of work, and starting to learn about financial literacy and how to manage your money, for example, is vital from a young age. So that should be a kind of...
That's what we're going to put on that billboard.
Okay.
Wonderful, Ivan. Well, where can people find you? Where can people find you yourself, and where can people find Family Finances?
We've got our website at familyfinances.hu, and also on LinkedIn, we are posting lots of stuff. Also on our Facebook account as well, and also we've got a Instagram account for Family Finances as well. We are mostly sharing content via LinkedIn, and also I'm doing the same. So we are rather into LinkedIn at the moment. The latest materials and posts and activities are available on our LinkedIn feed.
Thank you very much, Ivan. Thank you for sharing your stories.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Marcel.